And he said that his heart started pounding like crazy and that his heart had never pounded that fast. I had to wonder if it pounded even harder than when he saw Heather or Daisy for the first time on Rock of Love.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
I'm warning you now.
Hello, welcome to Guide to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And this week we are digging into more celebrity ghost stories. That's right, the old A&E show from the 2000s, we are revisiting it.
Any use of "that's right."
That's right, you were thinking it and
yeah.
I'm confirming it.
It implies that the audience was like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
How could that be? Could that mean what I think it mean?
And I'm telling you, it do.
It do mean what you thought it meaned.
Yes.
This is how they often open the show, with a title card. 75% of Americans believe there are events. Wait, there are events. I was like, they have like a word overload in this.
Yeah.
75% of Americans believe that there are events that take place that cannot be explained.
Did Zach Bagans write it?
Is it like that?
Yeah, too many that's.
Too many that's. Over half of these people believe they have experienced paranormal events themselves. The identity of these people may surprise you. Celebrities.
Oh.
Yeah.
I haven't really paid attention to it.
I know, it's white noise, but it caught me this time,
weird.
and I was like, it's funny to be like, the identity of some of these people may surprise you.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it doesn't, because I'm watching celebrity ghost stories.
Yeah, I know.
I know they're going to be celebrities.
Of course, but you know, they gotta...
The specific celebrities might be kind of intriguing. Who's on the menu, Kristen?
Well, I've got a pair of blondies this week. I'll be telling you about Bret Michaels and Morgan Fairchild.
Excellent. Wow.
Yeah.
I forgot about Bret Michaels. I'm excited about that. I will be talking about Cheri Oteri of Saturday Night Live fame.
Yes.
With a very heartwarming story, I will say.
Yeah, very nice.
And Burt Ward.
Oh, yeah.
TV's Robin in the 60s.
So, is his heartwarming or scary?
His is scary.
Yeah.
His is pretty cool.
Sweet.
The boy wonder himself, he saw a phantasm.
Oh, excellent.
And I ain't talking Mask of the Phantasm.
Not this time.
Not this time. No, the Robin saw a ghost.
All right, sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get into it. I want to hear about that one first.
Okay. All right.
All right, we're going to get to Robin's ghosty right after this quick commercial break. All right, tell me what the boy saw.
Can I back up briefly just to talk about Robin himself?
Yeah.
Because to some extent, this is like a playground for talking about these celebrities themselves. What the 60s Batman?
Yeah.
What's your familiarity?
Oh, I loved it. I watched so much of it when I was a kid.
So much. Where were we seeing this?
Just on TV.
They were just still playing.
Yeah.
I loved this show. I loved the having the rope and climbing up outside the building and people would peek their heads out.
Yeah.
I remember we went to, maybe it was like the St. Louis Science Center or something like that, where you could recreate that camera angle.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Which
awesome.
is weird too for the 90s. To be like 30 years on, let's recreate the Batman angle.
Yeah, that is weird.
Right?
Or maybe it's not that weird. It seems like it, but if we were like so game to do it, I guess it's not that weird.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
We couldn't have been the only
30
ones.
years on, they were like, people still want to climb outside a building like Batman. I was curious because something that I knew or thought I knew about Burt Ward is that there was the 60s Batman show was campy and silly and goofy, and I thought that behind the scenes things were a lot more adult.
Yeah.
So I looked a few things up. Burt Ward, Robin, wrote an autobiography called Boy Wonder, My Life in Tights.
Yes.
The cover art is someone unzipping the front of his pantaloons.
Iconic.
Iconic.
Yes.
And here's the description of the book. As Robin, the boy wonder in the popular Batman television series, still seen in every television U.S. and abroad. Seems like a typo. Burt Ward has become a durable cult figure recognized the world over. This is crazy. I copied and pasted this. I didn't retype this.
Yeah.
In his describes how a 21-year-old former part-time real estate agent coped with the overnight transition to worldwide recognizable male sex symbol.
Okay. I mean, I don't know about that.
Holy overstatement, Batman.
He was wearing like baggy tights. I know that the story behind the scenes is that he had a big one, but you certainly couldn't see that on screen. He was not a sex symbol.
The rumors were that Robin was packing.
Yeah.
But I also Googled that because I knew that the 60s Batman show had like orgies and like all kinds of crazy behind the scenes stuff. So I took a risk and I wasn't even in incognito mode. And I Googled Burt Ward orgy. But in the saddest results ever.
Yeah.
It all redirected to times that Adam West, Batman, was at orgies. Nothing about poor Burt Ward.
Poor bastard.
Poor Burt Ward.
Yeah, maybe he's like, it's the opposite of the lady doth protest too much.
Yeah.
He's like laying it on really thick and it's like not really a thing.
We know he's not laying it on at all. That's what it seems to me.
It seems like it is thick though.
But the shorts were too tight and it doesn't work. Now, to add insult to injury, there's a very famous story about Burt Ward before I tell you his ghost tale.
Yeah.
Because the first thing that comes to mind for me with Burt Ward is the wonderful icon, Conan O'Brien, who, when he was at Harvard University, was part of the Harvard Lampoon, which is, like a storied comedic group.
Yeah.
And Burt Ward was coming to Harvard. And so I'm going to tell you the story of Conan O'Brien in college, his interaction with Burt Ward, which is cobbled together from several retellings, one of which was his Inside the Actor's Studio and just other sources.
Yeah.
So the Harvard Lampoon was known for pranks. So when it's announced that you can, quote, meet Burt Ward in person, where he will exhibit the original Robin costume, which had just been valued supposedly at $500,000, Conan and his friends got a fun idea. They secured some campus security guard uniforms for themselves.
This whole thing is crazy.
They went out to meet Burt Ward as he arrived at Harvard and said, hello, Mr. Ward. The dean is worried about the safety of the costume. And Conan goes on to say that Burt Ward didn't question for a second that the dean of a major university would dispatch guards for the Robin costume. He was like, excellent. I thought someone would come by. Then they had somebody else from the Harvard Lampoon dress up like the Penguin. Mm-hmm. And as the costume is being displayed in front of like an auditorium at 1 p.m, Conan and his other friend are dressed like security guards on the stage. But then the Penguin pops in the front door. And even though this should have been a Riddler line, goes, when is a costume not a costume? And they all everyone just kind of turned and was like, what? And then he goes, when it's been stolen! And he hits the lights to like turn the lights off and then the costume disappears. But according to Conan, at 1 p.m, when you turn off the lights, things just get a little less bright. Right. And he even says, in the movies, it gets pitch black. So in the room, it gets grayish brown.
Yeah.
And we grab the costume and take off. So Conan goes running out the back of the auditorium where there's a car waiting. He hops in the car with the costume and they speed away. And then this is hard for me to imagine.
It's so crazy that these are the acts not of famous Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, he's just in college.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing. So he concludes the story by saying that Burt Ward was on the phone for the rest of the day, going back and forth, saying things like, that costume better be returned or you're in big trouble, mister. You're not going to get away with this. Supposedly they took turns like taking pictures of themselves in the costume, which again had been valued at $500,000.
Right.
But Conan says that they eventually got the suit back to him and confirms the suit was not worth $500,000. Quote, if you went to his car and Jimmy'd open the trunk, there'd be like 10 more in there. Like he's always giving them away to girls.
Oh, God, Conan is the best we have.
It's so funny, and it's so simultaneously hilarious and sad to like.
I know it is.
Poor Burt Ward.
I know.
He just wants to be a big deal.
He wants to be a big shot. I know,
does.
but God.
And he's an icon.
He honestly is. He is a big deal.
His Robin is an icon, undeniably.
Yes.
And if I can help to offset some of this, I guess the CW shows, like they did The Flash and a bunch of things.
Yeah.
When they concluded that entire universe of stuff, it was like a multiverse. The whole world's falling apart. Yeah. And at one point they cut to a universe where Burt Ward is Robin still and is like looking up in the sky as a meteor is flying by. So like
cool.
he got to be Robin forever.
Yeah, he's acknowledged as a big deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now let's get into the time that he saw a funky phantom.
Would love that.
All right. He says, every once in a while, something really affects you. I mean, leaves a mark that you're never going to forget. And I will say that he's got a scary story to tell, this Burt Ward.
Yeah.
The card that pops up on the screen describes him thusly. Actor and on-screen superhero Burt Ward is known for his role as Batman's sidekick Robin in the original TV series. During an overnight stay at an inn, Burt and his friend made a shocking discovery. They were not the only guests. Just the only guests alive.
Oh my God.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's great.
It's great. So, he tells the story. He was hired to do an appearance in a little town in Nebraska called Deschler. And he has to go drive. It's like midnight. He and his assistant are going driving in the middle of nowhere. 2 hours from the airport is where they have to travel. It's dark and desolate. He describes it as a nowhere's land, which is not the phrase.
No.
So he and his assistant Andrew end up being like, it's late, we're tired, we got to find a motel or something. So confusingly to me, they just sort of turn along a dirt road. This is like the privilege of living here and now.
Yeah, yeah.
Where I'm like, if you're tired in the middle of the night and you don't know where you are driving through Nebraska, what, you just take a turn and hope you find a hotel or something.
Yeah, right.
You're just at the mercy of
the elements,
the odds of like driving this direction. Maybe we'll find something.
Totally.
So he says that they finally find a motel, saying, quote, it's in Neverland. Nothing around. Nothing.
Yeah.
Now, in the reenactment, notably, it looks like reenactment Burt Ward and his assistant Andrew pull up outside of a Gothic castle.
Oh.
This does not look like a motel in the least.
They're always doing that on this show.
It's like they pulled
the reenactments don't match what the people are saying.
It looks like they pulled up outside Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night. And they're
Nebraska.
Like, well, this must be a motel.
Yeah,
because
right.
they don't, in the reenactment, there's no motel sign, there's nothing. So it just looks like they were like, here's a building.
Yeah.
Let's knock on the door and see if we can sleep in it.
Right.
It's very weird. But he also says that there were no lights on in the entire building except for one light up on the second floor where he could see a woman staring down at him. Very spooky.
Mrs. Bates.
Yes. They knock on with the huge like wrought iron door knocker, like clunk, clunk, clunk. No motel I've ever seen. And a, quote, old wizened character opens the door saying, quote, come on in, I've been expecting you.
Oh.
There's like classic ghosty stuff.
This didn't happen.
Burt Ward thought, gee, that's really strange. And it's here that I noticed that he still sounds like Robin.
Yeah.
He's got to be in his like late 60s. He sounds identical to like, holy macaroni, Batman.
Voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That rings a bell. Like, I know that I've seen him here and there as an adult somehow, because he's popped up in things like you said. Like, not that specifically for me, because I haven't watched those CW shows, but I know I've seen him.
Yeah.
And he has that same voice.
He sounds the same, which
Yeah.
is kind of amazing. So he comes in and for some reason says the following, boy, it doesn't look like you have many customers. Just go ahead. It's the middle of the night. Neg this business.
Yeah, right.
You know? And the guy who runs the place goes, oh, we don't have any. You're the only ones here. But Burt Ward says, that can't be. I saw this lady up in the window when we got out of the car. And the man says, nope, no one there. It's like
okay.
Definitively stated there's nobody else in the building. So Burt says that going up the stairs, something didn't feel quite right. He felt uneasy. And finally, the innkeeper takes Burt Ward to what will be his room. And Burt Ward realizes, this is the room where I saw a woman standing in the window.
Uh-oh.
This has to be the room where I just saw a person. But then they open the door, obviously, and there's no one there. Oh, so it's probably nothing wrong at all.
Nah, no big.
Except there's something incredibly wrong. There's something incredibly, incredibly wrong. There's no one in the room living. However, in the room in the corner is a mannequin.
Oh.
A mannequin missing a head. A headless mannequin wearing a black wedding dress, carrying, like holding flowers, facing the bed.
What kind of motel is this?
I'm telling you, I don't think this was a motel. I think they stopped at a scary ghost house. There's no indication of this being a motel.
So wait, real quick, is he telling us this?
Yeah.
That he saw this? Okay, I was just making sure that it's not just what we're seeing from the Celebrity Ghost Stories reenactments, which are always crazy.
No, this appears to actually be true. Because you're right, the reenactments can often fly off the handle.
Yeah.
But I do believe that this was Burt Ward being like a headless mannequin wearing a black wedding dress, holding flowers, facing the bed.
What the hell? Why would they do this?
I don't know. It's not good. Even with the lights out. Not unlike them saying, like, when is a costume not a costume, when it's been stolen, and killing the lights. He describes that even with the lights out, he can still see the thing.
Yeah.
Like, the moonlight is bright enough that he can see the shape of a black wedding dress mannequin in the corner.
I put that thing in the closet.
He said, I had this creeping feeling as if there was somehow life in this inanimate mannequin. And I wrote in all caps, have your assistant sleep in there.
This is... Yeah, what's an assistant for if not to make them do crap like this that you don't want to have to deal with?
Andrew. Oh, Andrew.
Yeah.
I require your assistance. Not to be a scumbag, but Burt Ward...
Or make Andrew sleep in there with you because you're scared.
Yes, or just move the mannequin.
That's what I would do. I put the mannequin in the closet.
Shove it in the closet, throw it out the window. It's not a real motel anyway.
That is so strange. Why would this be the case?
I have never heard anything like this in all my days, and watching it, I really kind of loved it.
Yeah.
Like, from just like a horror story premise standpoint, there's a mannequin in your room and it's facing the bed. How uneasy.
Certainly that. But I'm just thinking from I guess you would say a marketing standpoint. Why the hell would you do that?
Maybe every room has a different frightening mannequin. Maybe every mannequin is missing a different limb.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Right?
Maybe.
And then there's like...
He just got lucky in the headroom.
There's a secret room where there's like a cobbled together mannequin made of all the body parts from the other missing mannequins.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's like an Act 3 revelation.
Yeah, definitely.
And it can walk.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This hotel's wrong.
So, finally, Burt Ward gets to sleep, even though it's a struggle, as he describes. But in the middle of the night, he wakes up because over in the corner, there's an apparition. It was the lady he saw in the window, standing like she is the mannequin now.
Yeah.
The mannequin has become the woman that he saw in the window.
With head?
With head, yes. Yeah. And she's got like Beetlejuice, like dark lines around her eyes, in the reenactment at least. He says, and I was shocked by it. And all of a sudden, all of these eyes were on me. And then they just start going like, like all these eyes just staring at him, like this quick cut montage of people glaring at him in bed.
Ugh.
He says, quote, there's a whole group of people looking down on me. They were coming closer to me, as if they were reaching into me to suck my life out of me. This was absolutely real and very frightening. And I didn't know what was going to happen. My mind was racing.
Was he having a wishful flashback to one of those orgies from the Batman set?
That he evidently was never a part of. That only Adam West went to.
Yeah.
There's a story that Adam West got kicked out of an orgy for not breaking character. He just stayed to Batman.
What? I've never heard that before.
It's like him.
That's weird.
It's like him and Frank Gorshin, the Riddler, were like acting like the Riddler and Batman the whole time, and they were like, "Could you guys leave?"
That's sick.
You're making a weird situation even weirder.
That's really weird.
Something like that.
Very strange.
Jeepers creepers, Riddler.
Yeah. I guess it's not sick, but it's that's making the orgy real weird.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So in the reenactment, they show him like curled up in bed, and the hands are like very nearly about to touch him. But all of a sudden, the apparitions are gone. Quote, I didn't know if I was going crazy, but I didn't imagine them. No way. It was a horrible experience. It was one of those things you just don't forget. Now he gets back to sleep somehow, but they sort of gloss over this, maybe just for timing, for pacing.
Yeah.
But he's like, it happened for the rest of the night. Like periodically he'd wake up and these things would be staring at him again.
I guess there's nothing else to be said about it.
Yeah.
You just remark on it and keep moving.
Just move on.
Keep
Same
pushing.
rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
All these eyes staring at me. The mannequin comes to life.
Right.
Yada, yada. So he wakes up in the morning, sun is up, and he's like, we got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
He storms out of his room. Andrew storms out of his room. He's like, I want to leave too. Like, I don't know what happened to Andrew. I have no idea. But as they're leaving, they see the innkeeper, and they're like, we had a terrible night. And the innkeeper looked at him like, quote, he knew what I had experienced. And then the innkeeper tells a story about how many years ago, this building was a home for the criminally insane.
And so he decided to decorate it with headless mannequins and the like.
In the most frightening manner possible. Right. And I achieved my dream. Yeah. My wish came true. It's spooky. And he sort of concludes thusly. You can only imagine the suffering that people went through, and the sadness and the heartbreak. God only knows how many people went into that place and didn't come out alive. It was very sad and very depressing, and also very disturbing.
Sounds like a terrible night.
They were the souls of people who had been there and died there many years before. The emotions I felt were far-ranging. It upsets me when I think about it. And he concludes by saying he hopes he never sees that building again.
Boy, I hope he doesn't either. He's going to stay out of Nebraska.
I want to see it. Yeah. This place sounds awesome.
It sounds odd. I guess I would do a dip in, but I'm not staying the night there.
The Dip Inn is a great name for a motel.
You're right.
I would dip in.
The Dip Inn. That's a great story.
Yeah, that's the time that Burt Ward saw a scary ghost.
Yeah.
Or a bunch of them, and one of them was in a mannequin or something.
Right.
Unclear.
Sometimes these things are unclear.
Oh, yes.
In general, and certainly on this show.
Often.
Yeah. Excellent. All right, so I think I will tell you about Bret Michaels.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And what happened with him. His is on the heartwarming side, which, I'm happy for them. I don't love the heartwarming stories.
I know. I feel that way about Cheri Oteri, which we'll get to later on.
But still, I feel like the fun of the celebrity themselves carries it through and still makes it a good story, because you get to think about Bret Michaels and Cheri Oteri.
Yes, that's what I mean about this being like, it's not just to talk about a cool, interesting ghost story. It's like a launching point to talk about the people themselves.
Right.
So, Kristen, what's your history with Bret Michaels?
Oh, boy.
What? Yeah, how long have we got?
Storied history. First of all, my research for celebrity ghost stories this week was approved by the cosmos.
Oh.
Because I was gifted with some synchronicities from the universe regarding my celebrities. First of all, my friends Sarah and Dan started watching Rock of Love this week.
Great.
Sarah's obviously seen Rock of Love, but her husband Dan had never seen it. Doesn't like shows like this. But they were in an awesome 80s cover band called the Emulators, and Bret Michaels came up, and somehow Dan was open. Perhaps the universe also gifted him that. Was open to watching Rock of Love, and Sarah was texting about it, and I said, I'm actually covering Bret Michaels this week. This is great. Then I was watching the new HBO show Chimp Crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I think I might be saying it Chimp Crazy.
Chimp Crazy.
Yeah. Chimp Crazy. And I told Will all about it.
It's like a Tiger King.
Yes. It's by this
production.
Yes. And in the episode that I watched last night, they talked about how one of the chimp, actually, no, it's not one of the
They named one of the chimps Bret Munkles. Which is a great name for a hard rockin' chimp.
No, the chimp that ripped that woman's face off.
Yeah, everyone knows about the chimp that ripped the lady's face off, right? Hey, don't keep chimps as pets.
Oh, God, don't.
Don't do that.
Don't. It's horrible. But was in a movie or a TV show with Morgan Fairchild. And they showed her, and I was like,
gotcha.
I'm doing Morgan Fairchild this week.
You're doing good work.
Exactly. Yeah. So it felt good. So anyway, but my history with Bret Michaels is that I love Rock of Love. Love Rock of Love.
Now, what about what
Hey, show you things you've never seen. Touch my backstage pass. Ride my limousine. Wow. Please let me be your Rock of Love. Love, love, love.
Can I ask, what about the thing that he's famous for? Do you like his music or
no?
Just his stupid dating show?
Stupid dating show, please.
Okay, all right, got it.
He was also on The Celebrity Apprentice, where he made a Snapple flavor called Traparaka.
Traparaka? That's awful.
And he like,
it's almost as bad as Brent Munkles.
He won the contest, and then they produced Snapple Traparaka.
They did?
Yes.
Wow.
I don't know if it's still in production, but it was out there.
All right.
Yeah. No, but Rock of Love was incredible. It was a dating show that that was like, do you remember there's like a period where like they were spinning off dating shows from The Bachelor all the time? Basically, it was a spin-off
Do I remember?
I'm kind of talking to the audience, really. Basically, it was a spin-off of Flavor of Love.
Was that the original?
Mostly. Yeah.
Wow.
Like Flavor of Love was kind of like a play on The Bachelor, and then that was huge. So then they made Rock of Love.
On which show did they find a duty on the stairs?
Flavor of Love.
Flavor of Love. Someone pooped on the stairs on one of these shows.
Yeah.
Was she eliminated in that episode? She had to be.
Well, she eliminated.
Did she eliminate in that episode, and then was she summarily eliminated from the show?
I think she was eliminated, yes. Yeah. Oh, God. So that's...
You ever see Burning Love?
Oh, yeah.
You know that is the parody Michael Ian Black and
of course.
June Diane Raphael.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. I have
incredible.
I have it on DVD.
Oh, that's awesome. Anyway, that's my history with Bret Michaels.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Understood.
Yeah. I checked in on his Instagram to see what he's up to because I haven't really thought about him in a while, except for like when I've rewatched Rock of Love like a million times. And, oh God, it was good to hear his voice. I haven't rewatched Rock of Love in a while. It's probably been like a couple of years. And I did this before I watched...
Wait, you look like you're gonna cry. Are you crying?
I'm laughing because I don't know. I know it's ridiculous, and you look
good to hear his voice. You said,
and I did feel that way. I pressed play, and I was like, "Oh."
It's like what people say about like family members they haven't seen in years, like before phones. You know, like you've been estranged. Like they lived on the other side of the country, and you could only get there by boat. It was good to hear his voice.
It was good to hear his voice. I've missed him. So, the way I heard his voice, though, is that he's doing a little Instagram series called...
Get it together. This is your job.
He's also such a dork. Like, it's so weird that Rock of Love was like, oh, we are all competing for this, like, amazing rock star. Like, he's, like, so hot and cool and everything. He's, like, such a dork. Like, they would be, like, competing. Like, I remember, like, there was this one episode that, like, really solidified it for me. There was, like, the final girls or whatever. And they'd be like meeting him for like a dinner at this resort. And like, let's say it was like the final three. Like they would each separately meet him and they would come out like they're all dressed up and he would go, check please. Like every single time they came out for the dinner. And I was like, look at this guy.
He
and
came up with one line and it's a tired line.
Totally.
And he used it on all of them?
All of them. And it's going to be on TV. They're all going to know. And like, they're all like, I love him. I don't know what I'm going to do if I can't be with Bret. I'm like, this guy? Are you serious?
You're going to be fine.
You'll be just fine. So anyway, the Instagram series he's doing is called Putting the Rubber to My Blubber because he has diabetes.
What? Okay.
And he does a lot of like activism work to talk about managing your type 1 diabetes. And
that's good. That's important.
That he knows that putting the rubber to my blubber is like not super clear. So he had to
it doesn't make any sense.
So he had
it doesn't
to, like,
evoke anything.
He put his shoe up and be like, putting the rubber of the bottom of my shoe to my blubber.
He's still don't know what it means.
He means, and then he's
like, go for a walk?
Yeah, yes. And he's like, so I'm going to take a walk on this trail or whatever. And there's a bunch of videos where he's doing that. But anyway, just hearing him say that, I was like, there he is.
He could use another draft.
Oh, God. Okay.
All right. So you like this guy?
I do. He's also on a party.
To answer the question, is you like him? That's it.
Yeah. He's also on a Party Gras 2.0 tour right now with Lou Gramm from Foreigner. I didn't know that man's name until I saw it on his Instagram. Okay, so that's where he is now and my history with him.
Kristen.
But what about in this old ep of
Dude, is there anything on your screen? Are you like making this up as you go? What happened? Did you like forget that we were doing a show or something? But what?
No.
What's this?
I know. And I will
Kristen's on Facebook on her computer right now.
And I will tell you about his celebrity ghost story after I tell you about patreon.com/GTTUpod. This is where...
This is a fucking mess.
This is where...
This is a mess, Kristen.
If you like this, if you think this is good...
Yeah, if you think this is good...
If you think this is good and great,
Wait until you check out what's on Patreon, because holy shit, it is awesome in
Guess
comparison.
what? We have double the stuff on Patreon because
my God.
we have a whole second podcast. So if you like this and you want more of this,
double stuff your Oreo.
that's right. That's right.
Patreon.com/GTTUpod.
Yep.
You know the deal. Patreon is the lifeblood of any independent production. It helps us keep the show in motion. It helps us keep afloat. And it unlocks so many awesome shows for you. The Netherworld Dispatch is our Patreon exclusive podcast where every single week Kristen and I are doing like a variety of things. We like to watch clips from weird shows. We've watched Beyond Belief Fact or Fiction, Unsolved Mysteries. We play games, like most recently, our most recent episode of the Netherworld Dispatch is called 10 Years of PT, where we took a look at some of the fallout after that wonderful Silent Hill demo was not only canceled but erased from the internet. We took a look at the various games that have taken inspiration or maybe taken a little too much inspiration from PT. It was super fun. So much variety. Like somebody made a Game Boy game version of PT.
Oh, it was so cool.
It is so much fun. A smorgasbord of stuff. So go check that out. Patreon.com/GTTUpod.
We also have ad-free versions of our regular show episodes over on Patreon. If you join us at our $4 tier or up, you get ad-free versions of Guides to the Unknown.
Yes, and the treasure trove of stuff that you unlock is only growing week by week.
Oh, yeah.
Find a tier that fits. We hope that we find one that fits into your lifestyle nicely. And thank you so much for your support. It really does enable us to keep making weird experimental shows and having fun. So go check that out. Also, consider following at GTTUpod, all of our social media. You'll see when we have new shows coming out. We would love it if you would tag us and stuff or spread the word, tell people about the kinds of stuff that we're doing on the show. If you want to even take clips of the show and share them around, by all means, the world is your oyster.
That'd be amazing.
We love to read reviews that people have left for our show, and I have a delightful one that is simply titled Awesome Show. And Apple has changed the way they display their reviews to me, so I don't know who left it.
Oh, great.
Thank you,
weird.
Apple.
Pardon the interruption. It was AB556 who left the review. Thank you.
But they say, I absolutely love the dynamic these two have. Even when the topic isn't super interesting to me, I find myself laughing along. My husband and I listen every week while we make our dog's food. He's a huge fan now, and it makes it infinitely more enjoyable. I'm so excited they got picked up by Bloody Disgusting, and I can't wait to see what comes next. Congrats.
Thank you so much. That's so nice. I love that you make your dog's food.
I know.
That's so sweet.
It's very sweet.
I love to think of you doing that while you're listening to the show. Anyway, thank you so much for that sweet review. Thank you to everybody who's left us a review. If you haven't done that, we'd really appreciate it if you did, and we might read it on the show.
And I'll figure out how to credit people again, because Apple, I think they tried to update, make it flashier. But for whatever reason, it just didn't get in there.
Again, AB556. Thank you for your review.
I also, if I can offset all the mockery I threw your way.
No, it's fine.
This review calls out our association with Bloody Disgusting, as we're on the Bloody FM network with a million other incredible shows.
Yes.
And I just want to give a nudge that behind the scenes, a lot of machinations have been happening. Thankfully, because Chrissy is a pro. Chrissy has been forging connections.
I have been. I bring people together. It's just what I do.
She has. She has been making contact with various production companies to try to maybe get a scary, fun production going in the future, in the audio drama realm.
That's right.
I would say. And Kristen has been incredibly successul because Kristen is a goddamn pro.
Thank you, William.
So thank you, Chrissy.
Just not when Bret Michaels is in the mix.
No, you get too flustered. I know. You couldn't control yourself. You're like a schoolgirl. So stay tuned at GTTU Pod. You'll see if and when we're able to announce things. It's going to be a while.
Yeah.
But I really do want to commend you because I laid it on a bit thick. You're a pro at what you do.
Oh, it's totally fine.
I think everybody should know
totally
that.
Fine. No, thank you.
But yes, let's get back into it. Let's finally figure out what happened to Bret Michaels after one last commercial break.
Okay. So here's what happened. Like I said, it's like a sweet story.
Try to control yourself.
See what I can do. So it starts out, they always start out with kind of like giving their history with the paranormal.
Yeah.
So he says that he's not someone who thinks every time he hears, quote, a crackle or a sound of something on the roof or something in the attic, that it's a ghost, but that he has absolutely, for sure, seen an apparition before.
Okay.
And the text on the screen says, before rocker Bret Michaels rose to superstardom as the frontman of Poison, he was struggling to make it big in a dead-end town until a paranormal encounter turned his life around. So then he starts to tell the story, and they show the reenactment, and the reenactment guy is amazing. It's not really the reenactment guy, it's more what they have put him in.
The costuming?
The costuming is especially bad.
Does he have that like bandana around his head?
Yeah. He's wearing like the most plasticky looking like blonde wig with the bandana around his head. And his like outfit is really weird. Like I don't know. I maybe they were struggling to figure out what to put Bret Michaels in the winter in or something, because basically when you usually see Bret Michaels, he's wearing like like a t-shirt with the sleeves cut off and stuff. So they had this guy in like a short, boxy, kind of puffy leather jacket. It just looked really funny and like not usually what Bret Michaels looks like.
Unnatural.
And also, he was supposed to be young, so I get it, but it was just very goofy.
Yeah.
So he says that when he was 17, things weren't going well. He was living in a small town, school wasn't going well, and his grandma, who he was really, really close to, died. And he said he felt like everything was just kind of caving in. So there was this like snowy day. He was in his car, which was like barely able to run. He had like no gas in it. And he was just thinking about like, where is my life going? Like, what the hell am I going to do? And he was also just thinking about missing his grandma. And he was just like, I just need to decide what the hell I'm going to do with myself. And he felt like his life was sort of at a crossroads. But he had band practice, so he was going to band practice. And at this point, the band he was in, he'd like been in a bunch of bands over time. Members would change and whatever. The band that he was in had two believers that they could make it. It was him and this dude, Ricky. And then two members who were like kind of in, kind of out. Not taking it super seriously.
Not super committal. Yeah.
But they were all close friends. And, they went to band practice, and the vibes at practice just like weren't really great. So it wasn't really breaking him out of his funky mood. So after practice, he went over to another friend's house just to chill out in the basement and listen to music. And he said that he was in the basement, he had headphones on, and out of the corner of his eye, he saw this kind of like glow or sparkle in the basement. And at first, he thought it was just some sort of weird electricity popping in the basement or something. So he asked his friend if he saw anything, and his friend said no. So Bret got up to go to that corner to look and see if something is sparking, to see if there's water leaking that's causing something to happen. And nothing was happening, but he still sees this, not sparking anymore, but this kind of glow. And he's like, I don't know what's going on. His friend eventually went upstairs, and Bret sat back down. He's still just kind of chilling down there, trying to kind of ignore what he's seeing. It wasn't like a crazy, crazy bright thing where it's like undeniable, but he's like noticing something there.
Weird, yeah.
Yeah. But as he's sitting there, this ball of light and energy starts to glow and expand. And he said that his heart started pounding like crazy, and that his heart had never pounded that fast. I had to wonder if it pounded even harder than when he saw Heather or Daisy for the first time on Rock of Love.
All right. Okay.
Just,
I'm warning you now.
That's the last one.
Consider this an official
That's the last
citation.
I think that's the last thing.
A podcast citation.
By the way, Heather or Daisy aren't even girls that he chose who like won. They're just ones who it seems like he absolutely should have chosen them. They were like the runners up. Yeah. And when he dismissed them, they were both like, are you kidding me?
Are you crazy?
Are you nuts?
Well, can I surprise you with my recollection?
Talking about energy, crackling energy with them. Go ahead.
I recall from that time that Daisy then spun off into Daisy of Love.
Yes.
So I know stuff too.
Well, look at you. He said that this like glowing ball of energy started moving slowly across the room toward him. And he said he didn't know what it was doing. He said he didn't know what its motivation was.
Sounds like Tinkerbell. I'm like picturing in Hook.
Kind of sounds.
Remember in Hook when like Tink is in the dollhouse?
Yes. So it's funny you should say that. This is a classic case
and he's forever young. Like Peter Pan.
He is kind of like Peter Pan. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he is forever young. Yeah, especially because he keeps putting the rubber to his blubber.
Yeah,
Whatever it is.
if he keeps the rubber to his blubber, yeah.
Keeps him young.
Something.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Bret.
I also noticed, which was interesting, he would talk about his diabetes on Rock of Love, but he always called it diabetes, just like Wilford Brimley did in the commercials.
Really?
He has since transitioned to calling it diabetes.
Huh,
Because he
okay.
calls it diabetes in this Celebrity Ghost Story segment and on his Instagram.
Interesting.
So I wonder if he just caved to public pronunciation.
Or if he gave up on the joke of just say things funny.
No, I think it is supposed
They
to
would
be
just pronounce
pronounced.
it that way?
It's supposed to be pronounced diabetes, but
It is?
Yeah, I think so.
Diabetes. So Mr. Brimley was right and we all made fun of him?
Yeah, I think so.
It's just like The Thing all over again.
Huh?
He was right in The Thing, I think. He's like,
Oh, yeah.
we're all
yes.
doomed.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It is like the thing. So where did I leave off? I think I left off talking about Heather and Daisy.
Yeah. Oh, the thing keeps the glowing is coming closer and
Oh,
closer.
and you said
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like Tinkerbell. Okay, so he doesn't say this in his interviews and voiceover, but the Celebrity Ghost Story people take the liberty of making it kind of like Tinkerbell because they're placing an old woman she's an old woman into the ball of light like Tinkerbell because they're putting his grandma into the
Okay.
story.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't say it.
He didn't say that?
He ends up saying later that he feels like she was with him, but he never says specifically, I feel like that ball of light that was in the basement with me was my grandma.
So they have a radioactive old lady floating toward him in the night.
Yes.
Okay, fair. Well done, reenactment team.
I know. I love this show.
I'm on the reenactment squad for Celebrity Ghosts. Thank you for your service.
So he says that he really needed some sort of sign that day, that he needed to change things in his life. And because that thing scared him to jump out of the basement, he's like, I gotta get the hell out of here. It kind of ended up scaring him into making changes. They had another band rehearsal that night and he felt really apprehensive when he went to the band rehearsal, but he told them that he needed to leave and go to LA and give Stardom a real shot.
Whoa.
And whoever wants to come with him, he wants to come with them. He wants them to come with him. But if they don't want to come, he's leaving. And that's the end of the band. And Ricky came with him and went to LA, worked really hard, and that they made Poison. And then they got
Wow.
super duper successful.
That's cool.
So now we fast forward in time. He has now bought a house in Malibu.
Mm-hmm.
Poison has sold 18 or 19 million records. He's like a rich dude. And he's looking out over the sunset on the balcony with his girlfriend. She walks away, but then she comes back and wraps her arms around him. Only he realizes it's not his girlfriend. She went back in the house and didn't come back out. He felt like somebody placed their hands on his shoulders and it was a warm, friendly feeling. He turned around and it was his grandma. So this was one of those things where I couldn't tell totally what the deal was. I can't tell whether he actually saw her or he got a sense of her.
Yeah.
Because he says,
Sounds like Miss Massey from room
I-
237.
I know it's kind of weird to me too that he said she came
is
back
my
and wrapped
girlfriend.
her arms around me.
Yeah.
The vibe of a girlfriend wrapping her arms around you
Is a lot
is
different
than
from
your grandma placing her
grandma.
hands on your shoulders.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It could be one of those cases of them maybe cutting and editing and it just doesn't come out quite right or something. Another reason that I feel like I'm not getting the full story is because he says that it was almost like she was talking to me and says she wished him well. So it could also be it was almost like he saw her,
Right.
but we're not really getting the
it's
point.
vague. Right.
And he says that he was diagnosed with diabetes at 6 and his grandma had it her whole life too. And it was something that they really shared together and that he felt like she had come back and guided his life and that she had been a guardian angel to him. Now, I feel like this one sentence caused the Celebrity Ghost Story people to
Right.
go back and superimpose grandma into that scene in the basement.
Get grandma inside that floating orb.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe it was her that day in the basement. He did not say that. He says it in more a gobbledygook way of perhaps she guided his life.
Right.
I am saying that is the narrative they are telling.
Yeah. That there was somebody peeking over a VFX artist's shoulder being like, I'm not feeling anything.
Yeah, right. They needed to.
I get no emotion from the light.
Because he was just saying, it's a weird glow that freaked me out.
Right.
So I ran out of the basement.
They had to find a way to make a meal.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Well, that is heartwarming.
Yes.
I'm going to hit you with another heartwarming one, Chrissy.
All right, great.
We're going to talk about Cheri Oteri.
Perfect.
What do you think about Cheri Oteri?
Oh, I love Cheri Oteri.
I think she's...
What do I think about Cheri Oteri?
I think she is hilarious.
Yeah.
And it's kind of shocking to me that I don't think I've seen her in very many things.
No.
Post Saturday Night Live.
No.
She was on Saturday Night.
She's very active on social media, which is surprising.
Oh, is she?
Yes.
Okay.
But like not being funny, just showing her life.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I liked her in this episode. She was only on Saturday Night Live from 1995 to 2000.
Oh, what an impact.
A huge impact. She was like as balls to the wall, like would go for it in as big a way as like Will Ferrell, in my opinion.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like she was so good.
Yes.
So she tells a very sweet story. She says, quote, "When I was a kid, I thought there was an afterlife, but I had no proof. I knew there had to be something more than this." And her title card reads, "For Saturday Night Live alum Cheri Oteri, what began as a devastating personal tragedy ended with a profound discovery." Mm-hmm. So, Cheri Oteri tells a story about her father, and it was incredibly sweet.
Yeah.
She said that she always felt like she got her sense of humor from her dad, who was evidently very funny, and he would joke around with her in ways like he wasn't treating her like a kid. He would just tell jokes that like she would just like get in on in a way. And so they show him in the reenactment even. And the reenactments are always cheesy, but even still I found it to be incredibly endearing.
Yeah.
She's sitting at like the breakfast table, and then he comes in, sits down, but picks up a spoon and looks at it. And he goes, "Whoa, Cher, I am really good looking."
That's cute.
And then some days she'd be like, he'd be shaving in the mirror or something, go, Cher, get in here. And she would run in and he'd go, "I think I'm even better looking today than I was yesterday." And she goes, and I would say, "It's okay, Dad, just breathe. Like they'd act like it was a problem.
That's awesome.
Which is a great, funny inside joke.
That's a great bit.
And she describes that, you know, he didn't live with her. Mm-hmm. He didn't live with her family. And so whenever he came around, it was like really exciting. And like the kids would get all excited. He'd burst in like a big like character and make jokes and everyone would be happy. Title card or intertitle card. In April of 2008, Cheri's father, Gaetano Thomas Oteri, was found dead in his Nashville home. His death was ruled an accident stemming from a violent altercation.
Oh.
Awful. And she says, when you don't have a kind of ending with somebody, you don't get the opportunity for closure. If there's any way you could have closure, you'll look for it. I was looking for closure. And so she describes that a friend of hers knew of a medium. And so Cheri Oteri gets in contact with the medium at a hotel. And she says that before she like got with the medium, she felt like a kid at school who's like, I might be in trouble. Like, am I going to walk into this room and find out that I'm in trouble with the principal or something like that? Which I understand that feeling entirely. But she ended up getting along with the medium perfectly well. And she was like, I didn't want any small talk. I just wanted to get like, let's get straight to it.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do. And so the medium starts like saying a sort of like prayer or just like a generalized sort of like, spirits, anybody who's out there, come talk to us kind of thing. And it didn't take very long. Cheri Oteri says, my dad immediately came in and the medium says, he's behind you. And one of the first things that he said via the medium was, wow, everyone's trying to get in touch with me. Like that. And then Cheri Oteri says that the medium began speaking differently from this point. Like, it was like she was suddenly speaking in her father's cadence, almost like she was trying to copy what he was saying and the way he would say it or something like that. But it feels like it was authentic to her, at least. And then the medium goes, did your father have a really strange sense of humor? And Cheri Oteri, and I love this, Cheri Oteri responds, I don't think it's strange, but yes, he did have a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
Which is like a way of like,
Right.
not strange, good.
Yeah, it's a
you
good
fool.
sense of humor.
Yeah. Because the medium was not sure how to interpret something that her father was supposedly saying.
Yeah.
Which was, he's saying, I'm still good looking. Damn, I'm still good looking.
Oh, that's so
Which
sweet.
is incredibly sweet. And Cheri Oteri says, everything in me just rested. I felt so much love and so much peace. And she said that she was incredibly grateful for the session, and when like it was over, the medium went back to speaking the way that she'd been speaking before, never spoke like her father again. Like it felt like it was really like we're doing this session, I hear my dad's voice to some extent, and when it's over, it's gone.
Yeah.
So that I take to interpret that Cheri Oteri was like it felt authentic.
Yeah.
You know? So after this, Cheri Oteri, just like a tiny coda. This is admittedly like a pretty short story, although
That's fine.
a sweet one. Cheri Oteri says that from there, she like had just like gone to visit a few people. So she went to see her dad's ex-girlfriend and went to see one of her sisters, and bit by bit found out that all these people had also gone to mediums before, which also explained why he would have said, everyone's trying to get in touch with me.
Oh.
Which, how cool is that?
I love that.
Just as a conclusion, like if ever you had a skeptical vibe about any of this, and I do, even though we've had a similar experience to Cheri Oteri, I would argue. But like the non sequitur, who knows what it could mean, everyone's trying to get in touch with me, and then you find out all these people have gone to mediums to try to contact him.
Yes.
It explains why he said what he said.
Oh, I love that.
And just makes it feel all the more real.
Yeah.
And she concludes with, it was amazing. Oh, and it was all recorded. The medium had wanted to record it. So Cheri Oteri says, it was amazing how many times I wanted to go back to that tape, and I had to just be okay. I felt sort of like, okay, he's not so far away. Not far away at all.
Yeah.
So that felt good.
Oh, that's nice.
It was incredibly sweet.
Yeah.
And for anybody who doesn't know, I was thinking about the phrase celebratory skeptic again recently. We haven't used that phrase in a long time.
Yeah.
But like I would love to believe in all of these things, all these experiences these celebrities are talking about even, but it's hard for me to take that leap.
Yeah.
But not to belabor it, Kristen and I had gone to a seance at the Paranormal Bookstore in Asbury Park, where if ever you could believe in something, it felt like that was the time where it was like our dad really sort of muscled in.
Yeah.
And was even like, you know, Kathy Kelly, who runs the shop, was like, he's sort of smirking like he can't believe you guys are here.
Yeah.
Which is such a funny thing for a supposed ghost to be doing. Like, what are you doing, a seance? That's so stupid. Right. What are you, dopes?
Yeah, right.
And it's like, but in the same breath, you would be real, as you're saying it's stupid for us to believe that you could be contacted.
Totally.
Which is very on point for that man.
Yes.
So anyway, I felt a lot of
it resonated.
Yeah, I felt a lot of kinship with Cheri Oteri for her experience. It was incredibly sweet.
Yeah, I love
that. The kind of story that I want to believe in.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right. I'm going to hit you with a scary one.
Oh my God. And on a spooky one?
Yep.
Who's this? Morgan Fairchild?
Yes.
Who's Morgan Fairchild?
Okay,
She's not Phyllis Diller.
No, she's not Phyllis Diller.
Who I saw. Not in real life. I saw the ghost of Phyllis Diller in my room last night. She was on
an episode?
She was on an episode.
Ooh.
And I was like, Phyllis Diller. And then I went, why do I know who Phyllis Diller is?
Oh, because she was a huge comedian.
Philly Dilly.
Yeah, in like the 60s, 70s, probably before.
So who's Morgan Fairchild?
She was a soap actress in like the 70s and 80s. She also played Chandler's mom on Friends.
Okay.
If that's helpful.
Sure.
Most recently for me, she was in Ladies of the 80s, A Diva Christmas.
Ladies of the 80s. That's great.
Year.
That's great.
She was great. She shone bright in it, I thought. I thought it was okay overall.
Yeah.
But I thought she was great. I gave a quick look to see what she's been up to. So I went to her Instagram, and she posts regularly. She seems like a lovely person. She takes pictures of herself on walks with flowers that she sees that she likes.
Okay.
She recently got a childless cat lady shirt. She just seems like a cool lady. She does work for AIDS charities. I like her. So she starts off saying that her mother was very psychic, and so her family was always aware of presences. And she accepts that there's a lot that we don't know or understand, that we probably will never understand it. So that's kind of her like basis of knowledge with the paranormal. So this story happens in the late 60s. She got married when she was 17, and she was sharing a house with her then husband and his young mother. She said that the mother was eccentric and traveled a lot, and her husband did as well, Morgan's husband, because he was in the music business. So Morgan was alone in this house a lot. And she said that she could sense that there was something in the house with her. Things would move around a lot, and they were just never where she left them. And she could just feel the presence of this thing, this entity, she says, all the time around her. She said that the first time that something big happened was one night she was upstairs and she heard something at the front door. it was this metallic clinking, like a key in the lock, and the door shaking. So obviously she thought that somebody was like at the door.
Yeah.
You know. And so she went downstairs to check. Nobody was there. So she went back upstairs feeling a little freaked out. And a couple minutes later, she heard slow, heavy footsteps coming up the stairs. She said that the house was super old and the staircase was really creaky. So she could hear like every single movement on the stairs. And she just hears them slowly creaking, moving up, thudding, thudding, thudding up the stairs, and then stop at the landing, which was like right outside her bedroom door. And she said she was just kind of frozen and like, oh my God.
Yeah, it feels like someone's sneaking into your house.
Yeah, like she thought some like a person was there, a physical person. She wasn't like, oh, ghost.
Yeah, there's a ghost in my house. She thought that somebody was creeping up the stairs.
And she's by herself.
Somebody coming up the stairs slowly, but because part of my brain, I was like, old people people go up the stairs slow.
Yeah.
But you hear the sound of a person struggling to get up the stairs is different from somebody steadily coming up slowly and quietly.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you would totally just be like eerie.
Yes,
Yeah.
and dangerous.
Yeah.
She's by herself. She's like 17.
Yeah.
So she said that she started looking around on her nightstand for anything that she could use to hit someone with. She didn't want to get up right away, but she's just like taking stock of like, all right, what am I going to do here? Do I have anything to defend myself with? And she was waiting it out, and it sounded like they must be at her doorway. And finally, nothing was happening. And it was like she couldn't stand it anymore. And so finally she gathered up all of her nerve and got up, but no one was there. And she was like, oh God.
It's even worse.
Totally. And she said that she had the sense that it was a male energy and that it didn't feel young. It felt like an older guy. And she just felt like somebody there was just looking at her, just watching her. She was like, bleh. And so she continued to have this sense that somebody was around just watching her.
That is the weird thing about like a ghosty story is like if you get up, you're like somebody's at the top of the stairs or on the landing or whatever.
Yeah.
And you turn and there's no one there.
Right.
Well, there is someone there.
Yeah.
You just can't see them. And
Right.
the idea that they might just be standing still, just staring at you.
Yeah, you got up, you came to them, and so now they can watch you.
They can just watch you. Oh. Ooh.
Right.
Ooh. That like gave me like
It's a good story.
the first like little chill I've had in a while.
And
That's
she
great.
tells it well. She's got a great speaking voice. I love Morgan Fairchild. I mean, I always liked Morgan Fairchild. I just kind of always knew her as like a great cheesy soap actress.
Yeah, yeah.
She told this story.
What show was she on? Passions?
She was on like a million things. I don't know. I think she was on General Hospital for a while. She was on something called like Flamingo something. She was on like a bunch of old shows. So let's see. She said that this thing started happening regularly now. And she was like, am I just losing my mind? She was thinking that it was her. But little by little, she started to think that someone was maybe playing with her, like a ghost. It was something that was messing with her. And she started to think that it had something to do with her mother-in-law. Because while her mother-in-law was out of town, which was a lot, Morgan would go into her room to just dust and just keep it nice. She was just trying to be like a dutiful, nice daughter-in-law because she's living in her mother-in-law's house. And she started to get a strong sense that whatever was in the house didn't like her going into her mother-in-law's room. Her mother-in-law wasn't nuts about Morgan or about the fact that her son had married her. And she said that she used this analogy which was like kind of a fun analogy. She said that going into that room felt like going into a steam room. It was like this thick feeling when she would go in, just don't come in here. It's just like dense feeling. Eventually, she told her mother-in-law about it because it was her house that she had been living in, and she thought that maybe her mother-in-law would know something about it, but she just blew her off. And then one morning when Morgan was recovering from a really bad flu, she wasn't by herself. Her husband was home during this time, but the mother-in-law wasn't home. Morgan was recovering from a really, really bad flu, and Morgan's mother came over to help out. And had her lie down in the mother-in-law's room just for a little bit while her mother changed the linens in Morgan and her husband's bedroom. Morgan was like half awake in the bed, just kind of in like a sick flu stupor. And her husband was in a bathroom down the hall shaving when all of a sudden this pillow hit Morgan super hard in the back of the head, like hurt her. And she was like, what the hell? Like turned over. thinking it was going to be her husband, just because, like, who would it be or whatever.
Yeah, right.
And no one was there. He was still down the hall, and it's not like he would have. I mean, he wouldn't have done it anyway, but he would have to, like, dash down the hall.
Run in.
Yeah.
Pillow prank.
Right, when she's, like, super
out.
sick.
Right.
Yeah. And it was just, like, weird. What the hell is going on? So her mom, who, remember, is psychic, suggested that they bring in somebody who could communicate with the spirit. So they did. Because remember, psychics can, like, see things in the future or, you know, whatever, but mediums can communicate with the other side.
Right. Yeah,
That's not the psychic's domain.
It's like the difference between psychology and psychiatry.
Yeah, kind of.
Like different practices.
Yes, that's exactly right. So she suggests that they bring in somebody who could communicate with the spirit, and so they did. So they brought in a medium, and they started downstairs with this woman who started to describe what she saw, which was an older man. She described his features, the way he dresses, and Morgan's mother-in-law, who was there for this, all matter of fact, it was like, oh, that's my dad.
Oh.
Who was haunting the house. So, again, timeline gets sort of fuzzy. But Morgan says that at one point, after this, she was facing a window in her mother-in-law's room and says,
Stop going in there.
I would too. I know. I don't care how dutiful you're trying to be.
Get out of that room.
It's a wrap. Let it get dusty. She says, now with the knowledge that it's probably her mother-in-law's father, she says, you know, I've been talking to you all this time and I don't even know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, move these blinds. And she's like facing a window. Then a window behind her went apeshit. It had these heavy wooden Venetian blinds and it like raised up and banged against the wall and scared the hell out of her. And she said the way it moved, like these were like heavy old 1960s blinds, like not little like plastic blinds. And she says that like it would have to be like hurricane gale winds for the blinds to be like going like this. It wasn't just like a little movement. So that's basically like the end of like the things that happen. Her sum up is that she feels like her mother-in-law's father was protective of her daughter and didn't want Morgan in her bedroom because the mother-in-law didn't like Morgan. And Morgan lived there.
It's a hell of a family.
I know. It sounds like, well, she ended up getting divorced from this guy. They didn't stay married for very long. Morgan lived there for about 2 years in total, and things happened there the entire time. She moved out as soon as she could, and she never heard anything about him again or the ghost after leaving the house, and certainly not after she got divorced.
Yeah.
So just kind of like left all this stuff in the past. And I looked it up out of curiosity. Her husband's name was Jack Calms, and they were married from 1967 to 1973. And he was a pretty successful musician and producer. And then she was with a man named Mark Seiler from 1987 to 2023, so 36 years.
Wow.
Until he passed away. They never got married. And I admire people who buck tradition and just do what works for them.
Yeah, what works, Morgan Fairchild.
I just think she's a cool lady overall.
Wonderful. What boy, though.
Woof.
Good God, you hear people complain about their mother-in-law, but never about their grandfather-in-law.
I know.
Is that who it would be? Your grandfather-in-law?
I
guess.
Oh, my grandfather.
My grandfather.
So weird. But yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And he's a real son of a bitch.
You know, some people call their mother-in-law like mom or mother or whatever.
Yeah,
you have to call them like grandfather.
Mumsy. Yeah, grandfather. Yeah. Please don't hit me with a pillow.
Yeah.
Thank God the old coot didn't have enough strength to lift anything heavier than a pillow.
Or to leave the house and follow her.
Oh my God. Mm-hmm. Slamming the blinds. That just is like, that's where it's
also
like.
just messing with her. Like, she was looking at a set of blinds being like, if you can hear me, move these. And then he's like, ha-ha! And like move them behind her.
See, that to me, it feels like agitation and insanity.
Yes, and also
screw you, I hate you. Like,
and also the thing then with the keys in the door and coming up the stairs.
I don't like it.
That's just to mess with her then in this context.
Yeah.
Like if he's just like haunting the house or whatever, he's just in there anyway. He just decided to scare her and make it seem like there's an intruder.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
What an asshole.
Total asshole. So, wow, we've got two interesting double features. Bret Michaels and Cheri Oteri had very heartwarming, kind of lovely stories.
Yes.
And Burt Ward and Morgan Fairchild really got like...
I know.
Like demonically ghostly, like angry spirits.
At least in places that didn't end up being their permanent dwellings.
Yes.
Morgan Fairchild was there for a little bit longer of a term, but at least they both got out.
Burt Ward had to stay one night, and he's been talking about it ever since. Morgan Fairchild.
I would dine out on a story like that forever.
Oh, so would I. I'd be like, Robin who?
Yeah.
I'm the guy who saw a ghost at this castle
Right.
that I thought was a motel.
Totally.
It's bizarre.
It's nuts.
Wonderful. All right. Well, the world
Yeah.
of celebrities, they're just like us.
Except not at all.
Just like us.
Except really rich.
They got all this money
Yeah.
to calm themselves from their ghoulish, ghastly experiences.
Yes.
Well, thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. Greatly appreciate it. Love doing the celebrity ghost stories.
Oh, I love.
Absolutely love it. We hope that you enjoyed as well. If you did, please consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, drop some stars on Spotify, write some posts, spread the word.
Yeah.
You can also support us in a very direct way by going to patreon.com/GTTUpod. Helps keep the show afloat and
Just keep me afloat.
unlocks the Netherworld Dispatch.
Yeah.
Which is a party and a half.
Yes, I love
it's
it.
a bit more unhinged than we can be on this feed, if you get my
I don't know if
drift.
you can say that, given my Troparaca mania.
That was pretty wild. I will admit. But we appreciate you all. I appreciate you, Chrissy.
I appreciate you, Willie.
We'll see you next week for something completely different. But until that time comes, we must travel.
Back to the Netherworld, go we. Do you think he knows how I feel?
I wonder, maybe somewhere his headband started to tighten a little bit. It's like someone's speaking of me. Someone's talking about me right now.
Maybe.
Is there a chance he'll listen to this?
I don't think so.
What if we tag him?
Sure.
Right? I don't think we said anything unfavorable.
No, I did. I was calling him a huge dork. He doesn't need to know that part.
Burt Ward alive?
No, I think...
tag
Actually,
him?
I don't know. Now I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if anyone knows.